Hello, hello. Welcome to the next workshop on part of the Be Loud and Build AI series. Today we have Asim from Nexus GPT, part joining us for the workshop today. An interesting topic: how to create an AI agent in 5 minutes using no code. And the workshop is going to be 60 minutes, maybe, but the agent creation part will be 5 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you very much, Poria. Thank you everyone for joining this session. So as Poria said, my name is SM. I built a cool tool called Nexus GPT. And Nexus essentially is a platform that enables you to create AI agent without coding. We're going to go into the specifics of what I mean by AI agent and what Nexus is used for, and we're going to go into a practical case as well. But before going into that, what I want to share with you is really kind of a bit more context on the AI market and why building agent makes sense right now. A lot of people are talking about it. And most people don't really know what an AI agent is and what's really the difference between an AI agent and an AI assistant. So I'll try to kind of make it as simple as possible, going into the context and all of that, and then we'll go into a practical case. And of course, Poria, feel free to interrupt me if you have any question, or if people in the audience have specific questions that I can answer during the presentation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, there was an echo. Absolutely. Awesome. Just before that, Bahar has prepared something. We'll go over it for 2 minutes, if that's okay with you. Then we'll pass it on to you. Read the private chat messages I'm sending you as well. So top right, don't forget to press that.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you. Thank you, Awesome, for joining us. Poria forgot to let me introduce myself, and he just kept talking. I'm Bahar, co-founder of beloud. We are so happy that we have you here. Thank you for the time that you're spending, Awesome. And thank you for joining us. So I'm going to do a little bit of very short presentation about what are we doing, why we are hosting this thing that we are hosting right now, and what it's all about. First of all, hello. Hello, everyone, for joining us from on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter. Hello from everywhere. Thank you, Austin, for being here for the time that you were spending. Thank you, audience. And the question is, what do we do and who we are? Me and Poria were co-founders of beloud. beloud is a not-for-profit organization helping startups raising fund, growing their customers to 10K. We have an accelerator community in studio. We have community of founders, builders, creators, and investors. And the accelerator is where we help startups to grow. The studio is where we build startups, and we host programs and workshops such as this for our community members. We are on a mission to onboard the next generation of builders, investors, and creators into the imagination age. But the question is, what is imagination age? Well, if you ever heard of chatting, sending emails, Facebook, and in those times, that was an information age, and information age is in the past. We are now in the imagination age, where we have abundance of resources because of technology such as AI, AR, VR, Web3, OpenAI, ChatGPT, and these resources are enabling us to realize any ideas we have in mind, and we don't have an excuse to not to realize the ideas we have. We have everything we need. So we were thinking, now that you can go from prompt to anything in matters of seconds or minutes, let's see if we can build $1 billion startup in 3 days or not. So we invited almost more than 300 people to challenge themselves and try to build $1 billion startup in 3 days. These ideas can be either in AI, or they can just leverage AI to build these startup ideas in these projects. So we created beloud and Build AI. We started working on it for less than 2 months ago, and here we are. It's gonna start in May 10 in a day or so. You still have a little bit of chance to join in if you want to. This is the QR code for that. Thank you so much for being here. Follow us on social media to learn more about the upcoming workshops and the hackathon itself. And the stage is yours, Awesome.
That's great. Thank you so much, Bahar.
Thank you.
and I'll be sharing back my screen, and that's it. Yeah, it's sharing back. Perfect. So yeah, as I said, the goal here is mostly to give you a quick demo on how you can do it, but I want to go before that into the why you should be doing that, and go into a bit more context and the specifics of what an AI agent is. Before that, a quick word. So the AI agent is like, if you look at the market and you look at all these different industries, more and more of them are going to be disrupted by AI in the next couple of years. So Bahara introduced that in her talk on beloud, but I think it's really relevant, and especially nowadays when it's easier than ever to create those AI assistants, those AI tasks, and now those AI agents. So it's a big market. It's growing a lot. These figures that I'm showing you here are probably very conservative. It's going to be much more than that. Like the actual market of servicing people through AI and through potentially AI agents is going to be tripling in the next decade. So what I mean by there is a big opportunity. There's like three main drivers of this opportunity. The first one is actually, as I said, the job exposure. So if you look at all the job and all the tasks that a lot of people are doing, a lot of the tasks that people are doing come down to things that people write. And those are the things that the LLM are good at. And what I mean by things that people write, it can be anything from, writing, analyzing documents, or even translating or transforming documents, right? And if you think about it, a lot of the things that we do in our day-to-day job and a lot of the things that people do in their day-to-day job has something to do with writing. The output of that is writing. And therefore, the modern LLM are really relevant to that. So that's kind of the first driver. The second thing is, if you look at how much it costed to train a model, those costs have been decreasing exponentially over the past few years. So if you look at GPT-3, the cost of building a GPT-3 type model was a few $1 million in the past, like in 2020, right, when GPT-3 came out. And now when you look at it, a lot of people can build on top of those and build their own model on top of open source model with just a few $100s, and they can reach or go beyond a GPT-3 level large language model with just a few $100s and a lot of data, a lot of internal data. And therefore, like, the third driver of that is, basically you have a lot of opportunity and costs a lot of very little money to create those things. And the barrier to entrance, the technical barrier to entrance is very low. Therefore, you have a lot of solutions that are emerging, right? And those solutions, they basically, in the way I'm seeing it, they go into two different kind of categories. The first one is the actual product, and the second one would be the actual service, right? And let's dive into the service first, because it's kind of the easiest to explain. But in the service, right, before you had a lot of consultants or agency that were focused on automation or on lean management. And basically what those agencies are doing, right, were doing, was going into companies and finding inefficiency and helping companies becoming more efficient. Well, the thing is, right now, with AI and with what I told you, it's very easy for people to build this automation and to build these different AIs to go into companies and simplify tasks and automate tasks, right? So what you're seeing a lot right now in the market is you have a lot of what people call those AAA or AI automation agency, which are relatively young people who have very good knowledge of what an LLM can and cannot do, and basically go into this company and implement not only automation but agents to simplify the task of the workers, right? And the great thing with that is that it's on their side if you compare to all the other service industries. So if you think about, like, not only consulting but also marketing and all of that, it's very simple for those people to show the value they're adding. What I mean by that is, if you go into a real estate company and you say, hey, I'm a marketing agency and I can make your business grow with my services, it's very difficult to assess whether or not you're doing a good job. It takes a bit of time and you can waste a bit of money. But on the other hand, if someone or an agency comes in and say, hey, I can simplify the task that you're doing and I can reduce your time doing these tasks by 20, 30, 50%, it's very easy for them to show you and to show their clients what they're doing and how efficient it is. So the sales part of the agency, which is the hardest part, right, with any agency, whether it's consulting or marketing or anything, is simpler because it's easier for them to demonstrate the value they're adding. And therefore, this market, which is the AI agency market, is growing a lot with it. The second category, and which is probably the category you're most interested in, is really kind of the AI agent solution, right? So those are basically agentic type of solution that are able to not only advise, but also do tasks on your behalf, right? And so you can think a lot of, they are very wide in a lot of different categories, right? From sales, from marketing, from assistant. All those are typically use cases where you could replace a low-level employee with an agent, right? And I can dive into each of those specific solutions, right? So if you go into, for example, Therapist AI, which is the simplest one, it has been made by the same guy who made Nomatlis, who is called Peter Levels. And this guy, basically what he did is that he put a GPT over a prompt, and he enabled that GPT to receive different voices and access different knowledge. And he put it online, and he basically enabled what we call the Therapist AI, right? And so that Therapist AI was able to respond to questions, remember conversation, and give advice to people, which is kind of like coaching type of agent. And this thing is generating quite a bit of money for him. I think he launched it something like a few weeks ago. Now it's doing something around like a few $1,000 MRR, which is quite substantial for something that is just a few weeks old. If you go below, right, this one here, it's basically a solution that do screen calling, right? So you basically give an agent and you give it a number. And you transfer every call that you receive to that agent, so the agent can screen people who are calling you and decide whether or not they are solicitors, scammers, or actual people who want to talk to you and you know them. You also have like more complex type of agent, which are, either assistant type agent who has access to tools like calendar, emails, and internet search, who are able to autonomously decide whether or not they should like book a meeting for you, go and send an email to remind people of your upcoming meeting or anything, basically what an assistant would do. And you have like sales agent, for example. So Yala is a company, a startup that created a sales agent on WhatsApp. So it's basically an agent that is trained on the data of a website or an e-commerce or any type of business, and can not only answer questions, but also prompt people to upgrade them and prompt people to buy more stuff from you. So all of those are kind of use cases of agents, right? But if you look at it on a meta level, all those uses.
Sorry to interrupt, Asim. So because what you mentioned, it was quite interesting, because that Peter Levels examples and the other samples, they spend like a lot of PHP Python code to do it. So I really want to emphasize that you could theoretically and practically, that's something that we want to show. People can create these bots using Nexus GPT, right? Like using no code, if they have no idea like how to code in PHP, Python, or anything whatsoever.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we'll try to show in this demo, is really kind of, taking like even the most simplistic one or a more complex one and showing you step by step within a few minutes how you can create those agents without coding or even without knowing how to properly prompt.
Perfect, because that's what I was looking forward in the workshop, right? They have this like gazillion years of experience to like code, but we can make these similar things using no code. You can make it fast. You probably cannot make as much money as they are right now. You could. They've been spending a lot of time in marketing, followers, and stuff. but the development part can be cut down to like virtually minutes, as we're gonna see super soon. I just wanted to emphasize that. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, please.
No, of course, and I think you're touching a very important part, which is actually like the most difficult thing when you're building something is not really about building the product, and you should spend a bit of time building the product first and having kind of a vision, but most of the time should be spent on sales and marketing. It might be counterintuitive to say that, but having something that stick and that people are willing to buy takes a bit of effort and takes a bit of iteration, right? So you need to have something that you can iterate on faster, right? So if you take, for example, the example of Peter Levels with Therapist AI, it's a bit of a skewed example because Peter has a lot of followings, right? And he has access to a lot of marketing channels that enables him to grow things very fast, right? And to quickly iterate on the marketing part, right? So for him, what's difficult is not really the marketing or getting his idea out there. It's really the building, right? You have kind of the opposite problem if you're a new entrepreneur, is that like the building should be the least difficult part in your journey, but like actually selling and actually marketing is
100%.
I would say the most difficult part.
100%, couldn't agree more. Like sell first and then build it. I feel like that's the new norm right now. Something we're emphasizing in the hackathon as well from day zero. If you don't have the product at all, you just formed a team, start trying to find that user. Alex had a question. If we can get into it super quick. Will getting into startups as a no-code builder limit yourself in terms of growth and scalability for the startup?
So can you repeat the question?
So will getting into startups as a no-code builder limit yourselves in terms of growth and scalability? Essentially asking, if you use no-code, do you face scalability issues in the future?
Yeah, I think yes and no, right? If you use no code, it can be an issue long term if you scale, right? But there is such a thing as technical debt, and basically what technical debt is that you're saying, hey, essentially, I'm okay to make to do something more simple right now, and see if that works, and if that works, and if people are willing to buy, and people are building and buying a lot of things from me, I can afterwards refactor my infrastructure and go and make something a bit more reliable. So obviously, the biggest hurdle and biggest issue in your scale journey is not really the product and the code, because those are the things that evolve as your startup grows, but it's really about getting something that stick, I would say. I don't know if that answered your question.
I think so, Alex. If it did answer your question, put a yes or a thumbs up or a 1 in the chat. Yeah, please continue. If something else comes up, I'll interrupt you in the middle.
So I think basically, right, I wanted to kind of go into different categories, but we don't really need to go there. But basically, this is kind of a very high level kind of categorization of all those use cases, right? From being able to do semantic search, analyzing documents, ideation, categorization, content generation. Those are all the things which is kind of a framework to think about, like if you want to use LLMs and AI, whether it's agent or not, probably your startup and your ID might fall into one of those 8 categories, right? And so it's a good way of like thinking through those categories to generate IDs, right? You say, hey, how can I make something that, for example, analyze document for that type of job, right? What type of document analysis does a real estate broker needs? What type of, and you can do that for any job, like what type of content generation does a real estate broker need? What type of text categorization, et cetera, et cetera. So you can use that as a framework to kind of like come up with ideas of agent and then test out these ideas in them. But now, like the big question before we go into that is like, what actually is an AI agent, right? And so the thing is, when you look at an AI agent, right, the actual AI, which is the large language model, is only a part of that technology stack that you need for an AI agent. So an AI agent, in essence, is an AI model that is able to autonomously perform tasks on your behalf and potentially is able to plan around those tasks to achieve broader objectives. That's kind of the simple version of it and the synthetic version of it. But what I mean by that is that let's assume that you give an LLM like, ChatGPT, a bunch of tools that are proprietary to you. Like, you give it like a set of knowledge, which is all your product. You're giving ChatGPT also access to your email address, and you're giving ChatGPT ability to write specific things that you trained it on, right? Now you're given that thing to ChatGPT, and now you're asking ChatGPT to perform an action, which is, for example, hey, can you look up that website, write an email, and send it to that person so that they can be aware of my product, right? What ChatGPT will do is probably perform singular task or a series of tasks one after the other. What an agent will be able to do, if you give an LLM all those things, what an agent is able to do is to understand that your objective is to sell your product, and then look at all the tools and the tasks that it has at its disposal to arrange them to make a plan, which is, hey, in order to do that, first I need to look up that website of that lead. Then I need to write an email in the style that I've been taught. And then I need to use the tool to send an email through the email address I've been given to send the email to the person. And that's kind of what an AI agent does. It's able to kind of reason, in a sense, around an objective to be able to perform it. Obviously, right now, if I'm being frank, the large language model are not as stable enough to be able to consistently do that. But that's probably something we're going to see a rise on in the next couple of months to a couple of years, is really kind of starting these emerging agentic behavior, as we call them, which are kind of this autonomy of those agents. In the meantime, you can still be, you are still able to perform those tasks, but you'll have to kind of around and be able to hard code part of it and say, hey, when I'm asking you to do this, you always do A, B, and C. And you kind of teach the agent as it goes to perform series of tasks for you. Obviously, as you said before, the stack of an agent is really difficult. There's a lot of coding involved. And that's kind of, in essence, why we built Nexus, right? Is to be able to be an abstraction layer of all these things and to be able to build these agents without touching a line of code, essentially. If nobody has more question, what I'd like to do right now, if it's okay with you, is to go into demoing what I mean by AI agent and what I mean by building an agent.
Absolutely. Just a quick question from Atulya. Thank you so much for joining, Atulya. Can you touch on how expensive are these agents to maintain?
Yes. So
maybe you can give like an example of an agent, cost, anything you can share.
So it's really a case by case basis, right? So how expensive they are is essentially how frequent they are used, right? So you have to think that the main engine behind an agent is a large language model, right? So depending on the type of large language model, you have different rates per tokens, right? And depending on how much freedom you give to that agent, he's going to call that large language model iteratively a lot, right? So potentially you can go from, if you go from a very simplistic large language model that costs very little per token, dollar per million token, and has limited ability, all the way to a large language model that is very expensive and an agent that performs a lot of tasks on it. It goes from a factor 1 to 1,000, to be honest. So there is no one size fit all answer to your question, sadly. It's really about like being able to test and iterate on it. One thing though is that what a lot of people are doing when building these agents is to be able to in order to do more cost control, what they do and what, for example, Peter Levels did, is that he hosted his own large language model internally. So what that means is that he took an open source model like Llama 3, he made it run, and he said, my agent is now running exclusively on that Llama 3. And what that means is that he had a cost of like $1 an hour or a bit less than that to run this Llama 3, and he ran it indefinitely, and basically all the requests went from that. So his cost was capped to $1 an hour, essentially. This makes sense when you have enough requests to your agents. If you don't have enough user, it doesn't really make sense to do that.
Yeah, super valid point. Quick touch upon that, Atulya. So it's like asking how much does it cost to run a SaaS or a startup? The answer isn't as clear as Asim mentioned. And second thing, there's like a bunch of these token calculators that you can use online. And if you just like try it, you'll actually realize the cost and just ask more people like Awesome and other people who are running agents to see how much it costs. Thirdly, again, the same thing. Once you hit a critical point, the cost you're spending doesn't matter because you're making the revenue. B, you could always lower it. C, once you have enough data using GPT-3, GPT-4, maybe GPT-5, you can use that to train a local model like Llama, and that could potentially reduce your costs as well. Just wanted to add that in parentheses as well.
That's a very valid point, and that's a lot of for very specialized use cases. It's what a lot of people are doing, right? So they generate enough data on a higher model and they train a smaller model that is specialized. Frankly, you might see less and less of those because you have those open source models, very small open source models that are as capable as larger and larger models. So to give you kind of an idea, Microsoft released 5.3 a few weeks ago, and those are not, to give you an idea in terms of how many parameters, the big Llama 3 model that we've seen so far has 240 billion parameters, and like the big Llama 2 model had 70 billion parameters model. Right now, what Microsoft was able to achieve in terms of reasoning capability with 5.3 was on par with Llama 2, if I'm not mistaken, with a 4B model, right? So you had like something that was as efficient as something that was 12 to 15 times bigger in terms of computation capability, right? So over time, those reasoning capability are being commoditized. It's going to cost less and less to run them.
Perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, super valuable. And a quick side note again, Atelier, I think, has an AI newsletter right now or is planning to launch one. So feel free to give Nexus GPT a shout out and check out this tool and get this tool out to other people. Do you want to do the demo?
Yeah.
We're super ready for it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So basically, I'm on Nexus. So if you go on gpt.nexus, that's how it works. You sign up, you answer a few questions, and you're basically ready to go. So we have a kind of a very simple build your own agent type of things on our website. So if you go into the home, basically what you do, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. So it was super fast. I got lost a little bit. Very first step. What website should they go to?
So on gpt.nexus, right? So if you go on gpt.nexus, you're basically on our homepage, and here you can even see like a few use cases of agent from customer support, marketing, etc. If you need some inspiration, you can see them here. And then basically click on chat with your agent. You need to sign up to it. And then basically you have a quick onboarding of basically creating your first AI agent and integrated that AI agent. And those are kind of like basically what you have to go up and running on Nexus. Once you are there, you're going to click on create your first agent, right? And then what you're going to do is that you're gonna basically specify everything that has to do with that agent, right? So whether it's a specific role or a specific capability or going into working for a specific company, you can specify everything there. Like, for example, if I say Poria L, who is like let's say a customer support specialist, and at beloud, which is a startup accelerator, right? And what do they sell?
Could I be a community specialist?
All right,
my title. Okay.
Community specialist. What does your company sell, Poria? What does the beloud do?
Good question. I feel like I should know that clearly. It would be education, community, and fund as well. So capital. Well, we call the 3 C's: content, community, capital. That's the one. Yes.
All right. Who are the people you will be interacting with? Is startup founders, I'm guessing.
Yes. Founders, creators, and builders. Yeah.
Creators and builders. What's the main purpose of that agent? Providing support and mentorship. Does that sound good to you?
Yes.
All right. What should I do if I cannot find the answer? So send an email.
Yes, or Discord. We do have a support ticket. Some
Okay.
people keep pressing it randomly. Just please don't. Yeah,
What's the link to the Discord?
it's beloud beeloud.xyz/discord.
All right. What's the writing style of Poria?
Oh, it would be chill, fun, friendly. Explain it like I'm 5 type of thing. Yeah.
All right. And basically, like that's what we need to create like a good first agent, right? Once you're there, right, what Nexus is going to do is based on all the specification you provided on that agent, it's going to give you ideas of tasks that agent can do, right? So it's a community specialist, right? So it gives me kind of ideas of tasks like content creation, event planning, community engagement, mentor matching, feedback collection, right? Those are kind of ideas of task that agent can do, like, hey, creating written blog posts to educate startup, planning event, etc. You can create your own task, obviously. And task, essentially what a task is, you have to see it like a GPT task. So it's using an LLM to perform a very specific type of writing or creation or transformation of document that your agent can use, right? So if I say, hey, write an email, it's going to use the task email in order to write a specific email. The reason we did that is so that you can separately and independently train this task and change and iterate on the prompt of that task to go into creating the content that you really want and really need, right? But let's assume I'm all good with the suggestion. And basically, once you've done that, it's creating your agent. And you have your first agent, but you have nothing to do. It's going to, out of the box, it's gonna create all the prompts of that agent, as well as all the prompt of the tasks of that agent, right? So you don't have to kind of be a master prompter. We have like an internal model, pre-trained model that do that for you, and it generally take a few seconds, and it's gonna go into all the different tasks, and that should be about it, right? You have Poria, and I can go in before going into adding knowledge, I can go into Poria, which should be around here. That's Poria. And you can see here that it created the prompt of Poria, right? So it's a community specialist. Here's the role. You do that. Here's like how you communicate. And those are the rules you follow when you communicate. And this is kind of an idea of like how the agent should behave, essentially. But if you go into skills, you have all those skills that are being created alongside it, which has their own prompt. Like, content creation is like, hey, as a content specialist, this is how you do, and those are the information you receive to create the content, and those are the type of content you do, right? And obviously you can iterate on those prompts, but that will give you kind of an idea of like starter prompt for that agent. And from that point, your agent is ready to go. You can just communicate with it. But we can go even beyond that if we go into integrating specific knowledge of that agent, right? And what I mean by that is that you can add document, notions, website, or anything of that agent to make the answer more relevant to that specific agent, right? So if I go into, for example, an input URL, if I go into beloud.xyz, right, it's going to scrap basically the website, look into a specific sitemap of that website in order to find all the pages linked to that specific website, right?
So we might have enabled the robot no scraper thing. I'm not sure if it'll work, but it'll be interesting to see if it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, it's like a wonderland, right? We tried to create an agent like 9 months ago, 12 months ago, and it was a pain of like trying to just set up the basics. And this one just like set up in 3 minutes, which is pretty cool. Okay, it seems like it's gathering the links.
Yeah, and you have all the links and all the data, and basically you click on continue, and it's gonna upload the data to your agent. And it's gonna not only upload the data, but if you go back into Poria, right, what it did essentially on Poria, let me put it back up, is that on the specific prompt of Poria, right, it added a part which is additional context from that knowledge set, right? And that knowledge set is basically will be trained on the website so that every question Poria receive, it's going to find on beloud website what is the most relevant snippet of text to answer that question, and it's going to answer that question from knowledge you have on your website, essentially.
That's so cool. So sorry, a question that comes to mind, and if someone else has any questions or thoughts, put it in the comments. What is like the context window of the prompt? Like how much is it? Because if it's also having the prompt and also the knowledge from there, I feel like it will increase a lot.
So it really depends. So the way we do by default the chunking, it has to do with how you chunk basically the text. So what we do by default on Nexus is that the chunking strategy you can use is what we call the how do you call that, the semantic chunking strategy. And what I mean by that is that it's going to look and read the text, and it's going to find natural breakpoint in the text to create small chunk size, right? So that you have like a few lines of snippet of text on top of each other, and it's going to limit it to a maximum of 3 to 4 snippet of text for every question, right? Not only that, but when we create and when you add knowledge to the agent, what we do behind the scene, that's why it may take a bit of time to add the knowledge, is that it's going to look at all the chunk of text, and it's going to cluster chunk with similar content together to create summaries of those chunks or those clusters, right? And it's going to do that iteratively until you have kind of a tree structure or a pyramid of your whole knowledge, right? So that you have not only very abstract type of knowledge, but also very detailed and concrete type of knowledge at the same time.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes kind of more sense now, but super excited to see if it could actually answer the questions to the point.
I'm not gonna lie to you, you have 150 pages on your website, so it's not gonna be in that demo, it's not gonna be done. It takes like a 20-30 minutes to properly scrap and clusterize everything. Obviously, if you have like one document, it's very easy, but right now we asked it a very big task.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's probably our fault. We created too many pages. There's going to be so many more too as well. We do want to create an AI agent to create more pages as well.
Oh, well, you can do that with Nexus, right?
Yeah. Oh, we're definitely gonna try it after this.
Once you have that AI agent, right? One of the cool thing you can do is, give me 1 second so I can show it to you. So what you can do is that you can integrate that agent into different workflows, right? So if you look at integration right now, we have like different type of integration from Slack, Teams, embedding it directly into your website, a Telegram, WhatsApp, SMS, Facebook Messenger. And basically what it means is that you're making your agent available to the world. So if we take, for example, the example of Peter Levels, he had an AI therapist and he integrated it on Telegram, right? So you could have Poria, if I can find Poria somewhere. Where is Poria? Here it is. Yep. And basically you have Poria, Telegram, and Telegram integration. And basically you need to have a token from on Telegram from a bot father, right? So basically you go into your bot father, you get the token, and then once you have that token, you can just add it. Let me try to create a new token so it's going to be easier. New bot.
Yeah, and sorry, just a quick comment. It's bot father is super easy, and it's good that you put the instructions there as well, because some people might not know how to get the API token, so that's super helpful. Bot father is super simple. You click on it, the slash new, all the instructions are there. It takes like 2 minutes. Yeah. The good thing about Telegram is that you don't have to worry about creating a UI. So you have the chatbot, you have the infrastructure of Telegram. You can just like optimize your prompt, your knowledge base, make it look good, and try to focus on like finding the user, the marketing, the selling. Mm-hmm. So your time to publishing would literally be cut down because you don't need designers anymore, right? And sorry, we do have designers joining the hackathon, but you are useful, we do want you to be there. But just in this specific scenario, if you're using Telegram, you don't need to worry about UI.
Yeah, exactly. And it's more kind of a tool to quickly iterate on whether or not something is valuable, right? To give you an idea, the first version of Nexus was a Telegram bot. And that's how we realized that there was like some kind of need for that, right? So
No way. So the first version of Nexus was a Telegram bot.
yeah.
Now you let other people create Telegram bots. That's pretty cool.
And so basically, once you've done that, that's it. You have your agent. It's on Telegram. If I go into share your bot, I have the link, and you can start chatting with that link, right? So let me. I don't know if I can see. You're not going to be able to see my whole screen, but yeah, it's here. It's live.
Do you mind putting the link in the chat so I can also send it to people
yeah,
so they
sure.
can also try it live as well? Yeah. And while we're doing this, I think Mehnaz had a question. What are the ways that users can interact with Poria the bot? I'm assuming when you showed the integrations, it answered their question.
Yeah. So you have, by the way, here you can add a paywall to Poria, right? So you can make money from Poria, right? So if you say, hey,
no way,
I want to be paid $20 a month for Poria, and you give them a prompt message, and you say, hey, how many free messages am I giving to people before Poria is paid, right? So here, for example, I say, hey, I'm going to limit to 3 messages. Second up, $20, and I'm going to limit it to 3 messages, and please pay for beloud. And basically what it does is that it's going to allow 3 messages, and then it's going to ask you to pay. And that's kind of an efficient way to start like running a business, I would say, or like testing an idea. And then after, basically your money is directly on Nexus, so you can retrieve it. We're not charging anything on top of Stripe fees for people generating money. It's really about like you being able to build whatever you want and whatever you feel like building. And we want to allow you to do that.
So sorry. So you said you're not charging any fees on top of the Stripe, right? Because usually platforms charge like a 2, 3, 5, 10% markup. You're not charging anything at all.
No. So Stripe is going to charge you, I think, something like a few cents and a few percentage, and we're just charging you back that when you retrieve your money, essentially.
Crazy. That's pretty awesome. So you could essentially make the agent in like few clicks, fully no code, connected to Telegram. This simple. I've used the Telegram API before. It's not as easy as like just visually. So you have to go through all the code. So this is quite simple. And the 0 fee, I love that part because it makes it more accessible to people, and it just wants people to like build more stuff, try out more ideas, and if they end up making money with it, fantastic.
Yeah, and by the way, here we can also test. You have a playground where you can test the agent. Hey, Poria, how are you? And normally Poria should be live and answering you back. Exactly. And you can ask Poria to perform things, right? So, hey, can you do some internet searches on AI agents, and then create for me some content about it. And so basically what an AI agent is going to do, right, is going to try to assess like the complexity of a task. Please do that. Is going to assess the complexity of a task. And then based on the complexity, it's going to say, hey, I need to use content creation, for example, right? And it's going to use the content creation tool and then, just create the content that you want, right? So that would be kind of content creation on it. But you can do something a bit more complex. Obviously, you can ask it to do multiple steps. And then it's going to say, hey, it's a more complex kind of thing. I'm going to make a plan that involves content creation, but as a last step. And do all the research and do everything and then create the content.
Okay, crazy question. Could it so if we ask it to create like a tweet, for example, like turn this into a tweet, And then
So
can we ask it to publish it as a tweet?
that's a very good question. So in order to do that, right, what Poria needs is the ability to add a tool to it, right? So it needs to have access to the Twitter API, right? So basically, there's two ways of adding those tools. So I told you about tasks, and then you have like plugins themselves, right? So we have like a preset marketplace of plugins. A lot of them are scrappers, but if you don't find like the plugins you want, you can always, like, if Twitter has their own API, you could integrate any API you want and have actions that your agent can perform on your behalf. So you can add your Twitter account, your token, and all of that, and say to Poria, hey, publish that tweet, and it's going to be able to do that.
That's awesome. The reason I'm asking is one of the people on Discord, Nadia, they had this idea so that you would create an event and then publish it. So a Telegram bot that lets you create events, and then it would publish it on different events management platforms. So I just wanted to check in to see, like, you can add in custom APIs as well.
Yeah, of course. You can add. So to answer kind of your question, the way you can integrate your agent is not only through these integration, and one of them is like an embed chatbot. So you can embed a chatbot into your website, into any website, and you have like a link to it, right? You have a public link to the chatbot, so you don't have to do anything either. And you have an API to Nexus, right? So you could use the API to Nexus to build and to integrate the chat, like Nexus as an infrastructure for your bot in your prompt. So you can kind of manage your agent, manage its tool, the different plugins, the task, the prompt, etc., and then just connect it to your app, and you do the front end. If you want to do something a bit more complex, you do the front end, and then like the whole backend can be Nexus.
Good. That's awesome. Ali had a comment. Imagine an agent for hacking other agents as well. I'm assuming. So we have the tasks that the agent can identify to do. Can agents interact with themselves? Can a task be an agent itself?
So it's a very good question. So multi-agent is, we feel, not yet super stable to properly do. And we don't really want to have agent, like we feel like as a practical concrete use case that is reliable, we didn't feel like multi-agent could be useful as an automatic mode. However, when you are on the playground, right, and let's say you can always kind of tag an agent and say, hey, Poria, how are you? And then you can, within the same conversation, you can tag another agent to pass the ball between agents and say, hey, you can. And you can pass to like a French agent, and the French agent is like answering back, right? So.
Oh, nice. It speaks better French than I do. So another quick question, might be possible, might not be, because this is on the web, it's embedded within the infra, so you have total control over it, because that's one of the other benefits of having your own website platform. You know the front end, back end. But if you use Telegram or WhatsApp or Slack, can you use this tag an agent functionality to there as well? So say if they're talking to Poria on Telegram, can they tag like Awesome from Nexus?
Yeah. At the time, no, because when you're integrating an agent into our integration, you're integrating one singular agent. You're not integrating Nexus per se, right? So you can integrate like one specific bot on Telegram, but you can't have really kind of accessibility to all the different bots, because this is kind of more something you can do on Nexus.
Gotcha. Alex has Zach has a question. How about adding to web codes in GitHub? What do you mean by that?
Basically, for all those tools and plugins, to be frank with you, like the walls is kind of your oyster right here. So as long as it has an API, it can be integrated.
Perfect. And Alex is saying, how do you implement an AI agent into an actual website instead of just implementing into something like Telegram?
So here, we have our user guide and we have like the API references. I would say that's probably kind of the easiest thing you can do, is to have your API key for your agent and just start like integrating it into like very specific concrete use cases of specific websites. So I would say just use the API.
Perfect. Because you also mentioned you have like an embed chatbot feature as well. So I feel like, yeah, That could also be another way. And if we could also send like curl requests, like post and get, I feel
Yeah.
like you can integrate with Zapier and make all those no code platforms too as well.
Yeah, as well. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
Okay. Perfect. Sounds good. Yeah.
And like the last thing is like the model, right? As I told you, you can swap the models, have your agent run on different models, the task on different models as well. You can host your own model on Nexus if you want. So if you want like Llama 3, you can select it, run it, and deploy it, and that's it. It's like 2 clicks as well.
Perfect. Yeah, everything. I feel like everything with Nexus is 2 clicks. Probably we could change the name to 2 clicks as well, just maybe a branding thing to consider.
Yeah.
Super amazing. So, how to create an AI agent in 5 minutes or 55 minutes using no code. But we did go through like the whole thing. Quite interesting. I didn't know you could do the tagging agents. That was quite nice. I saw live data. I didn't see you touching upon that. How does that work? Because you can
Yeah.
upload like CSV, Notion, I'm missing, but what is live data?
So live data is essentially data that changes, right? So if you look at knowledge, right, so you have like right now it's a Notion, right? But basically the goal here is to have like any kind of database, any kind of Google Drive or anything with doc or like Google spreadsheet that changes and that change dynamically. The idea is to be able to kind of connect those data directly to your agents so that they can perform tasks that are up to date, right? So one of the things we're thinking of adding is just like being able to connect a database, right? So if you have like a super simple database that you've built, you should be able to kind of connect that agent to your database so that it always has the latest data that you've had. Right now, you can connect to Notion, obviously, but you'll be able to kind of connect to more use cases in the future.
That's awesome. A quick ask. I know you're doing some updates internally as well, but we have Couchbase as one of the other partners for the hackathon. They have a database platform. They're a
Mm.
database. Can you possibly in 2 days or 3 days add them as an integration as well? So if people want to use Couchbase as database, they could get live data from there. So in real time, people could like see what's happening.
So if we have some people from Couchbase that are willing to help us through that integration on data, yeah, happy to look at it with them.
Perfect. Sounds good. Yeah, they have like a gazillion team members. I'm most likely sure they could help out, but I have to reach out to them as well. That could be an interesting case
Yeah.
study as well. Somebody else also had a question, and for folks staying on, welcome Sam. For those staying on, we do have 2 more workshops after this, one with Replit and ICP. Stay tuned. Mahnaz says, what is the difference between an agent and an AI chatbot?
Yeah. So I tried like touching upon that during my presentation, but essentially the way, and I'm going to go back into myself. So the way you can see that is an AI chatbot is, or an AI assistant is basically something where you ask it, you give it task and you say, please write this, please do this, and it's going to perform the task. An AI agent has ability to perform those tasks with more ambiguity. So you can give the agent objective and it's going to find a way to achieve the objective without you necessarily specifying the task or specifying the series of tasks it needs to do. So you have to think like a chatbot is an intern that you ask it to do specific things and you ask like very specific instructions. And an agent is like a young employee that just started that has kind of some kind of knowledge of what it can do and cannot do and can like arrange the stuff itself to achieve an objective.
Gotcha. Something I might add, and correct me if I'm wrong, awesome. So we could also have like an AI agent, AI thingy, and the output of it, the representation, how we interact with that AI agent could be in the form of a chatbot. It could be
Yeah.
in the form of I don't know what other forms are there besides a chatbot is.
So the thing is, whenever like an AI can be just an in and out, right? So if you say like I have a piece of a field on my website and that field is able to produce something, right? Whether it's like another, like we've seen like Versal creating generative UI in their bot and all that. This is essentially like a field that you ask the weather and it's going to give you back like the weather on a specific location with its own UI, right? But in the background, what you have is some kind of agent who is able to kind of retrieve the right piece of UI and plug it into that call in order to produce like the good weather app. So like the agent itself, and you're right, I think, Purya, the chatbot is the interface while the agent itself is the process.
Totally. Somebody said, yeah, software. So chatbot as an interface software on the search, or it could be just like behind the scenes, right? That sounds great. If there are any other questions, please put them in the chat. Anything else you want to show us from Nexus? Awesome. Any cool feature or any ideas, like, because people are going to be using Nexus during the hackathon. Some of them, most of them. It's so cool. I do want to use it. What do you want to see built using Nexus?
I think one of the cool thing you could really do is think about like a specific type of very simple type of coaching or any type of conversational AI that is trained on data or knowledge that you only have access to. So if you can do something that nobody can, if you know things that very few people know, and your knowledge itself is valuable, I think you can create your own kind of version of yourself very easily and just upload that into your agent and be able to interact with it. And I think if you do that as a first step, it's really good because it can give you a feel on how to do prompts. It can give you a feel on how to iterate on things. It can give you a feel on like what's the right model to perform these actions. It can give you a feel on a lot of things, and you'll be able to kind of just quickly do the whole thing, right?
Yeah, sounds good. Leon asks, do you only use models from OpenAI, or are there other models you like?
No, so virtually any model, right? So we have like by default, they run on GPT-4 Turbo, but you can make them run on any model of OpenAI, any model of Claude, any model of Mistral, or any model whatsoever, if you can connect to it. If you can even run your own model locally and connect it to Nexus. And you can decide on a model and run it in the cloud and deploy it on our GPUs and run that agent on it, right? So virtually anything.
Perfect. And Alex, oh, there's an echo. Okay, Alex says, do you have any tips on getting startup ideas or ideas for this hackathon? That's something we'll share with you after this that you can build with Nexus GPT. So based on what I understood, you said, look at yourself, your team, your expertise, see what you know that other people don't. And there are a lot of industries out there, so don't be limited to your circle. So go out, branch out, like the medical area, the agriculture, aviation. Think of industries, older industries that are using boring tools that you can also disrupt with a simple chatbot agent. Peter Levels, as you mentioned, he went after therapists. So you can go after hairdressers, go after moms or veterans. Pick one of those niches target audience to address.
100%. And the thing is, one cool thing that I forgot to mention is that when you upload documents to an agent, you can enable multimodality on these documents. So it can, like, the agent is able to understand like text, images, and stuff like this. I'm telling you this because one of the user is making chatbot of specific instruction manual on industries, right? So people can just upload machines manual, very complex machine, and you have a trainer chatbot. Like that's kind of one use case, right? Another, and you have like those use cases on a lot of different industries.
That sounds pretty cool. I missed the part that you were going to do the demo. I had a call, and I really want to go back and watch the recorded video. But can a Nexus go through video to text, or?
So right now, like the agent itself cannot perform image text or video text or do like the other part, which is like video to text, video to image, etc. But this is some kind of something we have in our roadmap. I think the text to video and video to text is going to be, I think, it's the one that we received the least request on. Text to image, image to text is something that is very near, basically because it helps you kind of attack like things that are a bit more creative with those agents and being able to kind of create, because when you create an image, you also have a prompt for that image, like a wrapper prompt of that image, and being able to kind of consistently create very specific images can be in some cases very powerful. So yeah, definitely in our roadmap, but not right now.
Thank you. So somebody also asked, can Nexus do voice to text? So assuming no right now.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I can tell you is that next week, if everything goes well, we're going to integrate phone calls into our agents, right? So being able to give them phone numbers, which is good because you have a lot of industry that need customer support, right? So if you think of any AI agent that can do voice in order to answer questions, well, next week in again 2 clicks, you'll be able to attach a phone number to an agent, and just that agent can be called.
That would be great. That sounds amazing. I really want to use that phone call agent that you can talk with, like a therapist, but you actually can talk to it instead of just texting. Yeah. That would be fantastic. Also, we know that you're chipping in for the prize for the hackathon. You're offering 2K credits worth of credits. And can you let a bit of us know about the requirements? What are the requirements that people and participants should have to be able to eligible?
Yeah, so for basically, essentially, for the duration of the hackathon, we would like to kind of reward the people who are able to make the most money with agent, right? So the people who are able to generate the most money with the agent will receive not only a 1-year pro plan on Nexus, so on that plus a lot of credit on it, so that they can basically their whole infrastructure cost for the full year will be almost taken care of, so they can start like making as much money as possible with this agent and scale a business.
That would be
and on top
so
of that,
good
obviously, also offering to the participants like a month of hobby plan on Nexus, so they can actually get going during the duration of the hackathon.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I just wanted to emphasize that for everyone who's participating in the hackathon, to have that in mind now that you're thinking about creating AI agents. Thank you for being here, Awesome. It was great having you here. If there's no more questions, I think we can kind of end the call. We have one more question. Alex is asking, how did you get the idea of creating Nexus GPT, and why did you decide to make it easy and mostly free to start and create stuff?
Sure. So before Nexus, I had an automated marketing agency. So basically, instead of you would go into a marketing agency, but instead of people, you would have a version of GPT-2, then GPT-3 kind of answering you. And we did that with associates, and we scaled that quite a bit. And then when ChatGPT came out, I saw that there was a lot of people who wanted to do the same. So I figured, like, I have some knowledge on it, might as well help people, empower people to do what I did and scale what I did with their own idea of business.
That was amazing. Thank you. And so inspiring. We can maybe later on have you to like go through the story of building a startup and how is that going, how hard, how easy it was to start Nexus GPT. That can be a conversation for next time. But if there's no other question, maybe we can end this call.
Yeah, just a quick note. What I've noticed is that most founders go through like the agency route first to make sure that they have enough capital on hand. They develop the connections. They actually understand like providing the service manually or via AI, the AAA you mentioned, and then they transition to like the SaaS, because they sell first, they learn, optimize that skill. Then after that, they can automate it and like give people the tools, the shovels on how to do it. So great job in making the transition. Awesome.
Thank you. And yeah, I think like, I think when it comes to actually generating money, going into the serious round is probably the quickest way you can do that. Is basically you just have to pick up your phone call and just start selling to people, and you can generate money just like this. And then, you like, the idea is to be able to kind of quickly productize that into something that larger amount of people can need. But I think in any case, whether you're building a product or whether you're building an agency, at the end of the day, the first initial customer are going to be the same. You're going to spend a lot of time talking to them. You're going to spend a lot of time understanding their needs. And whether you're building an agency or a product, it's going to be basically the same journey at the beginning, at least.
Totally makes sense. Thank you so much for your time, Awesome. I know you have to run. We're super busy too. We're gonna have another workshop in 5 minutes ish. So stay tuned. I think on the day for Saturday, we'll have you for some time slots. If people have any questions about Nexus, they can either book the call with you, or like you can be there for like an office hour, depending on when you're free. So they could
Yeah, of
also
course. I'll
yeah,
put a Calendly, and people can book 15
perfect.
minutes.
Sounds good. I'm super excited to see what great things people build with Nexus, because you can literally spend 5 minutes to create it, link your Stripe, and the whole time you can focus on trying to find the user. So our first goal was like finding a user from outside of the hackathon that would try it for free and like get feedback on it. Then I chatted with you. You said we can turn that goal into a paying user. So see who makes the most money in 3 days. Somebody else's goal was getting acquired in the 3 days. So it's going to be a fun one. Yeah.
Very
Thank you
cool.
so much, Awesome.
Thank you so much,
Will
Daniel.
this link is available on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. We'll also send it to the participants, and have a good rest of your day. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good day. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. We have our next workshop in less than 20 minutes with Replit, and the one after that with ICP. They both are very interesting. I was just talking to Replit, and they also chip in 1 year subscription as a prize for a team, for all of their members to use Replit. And then after that, we'll be having ICP, and ICP is also providing some cash prizes. So it's very interesting, and I really much recommend to stay on to hear what they're going to say and to see how we can use their tools. And have a great day.
Yep. Before we head off, thank you so much for all those who stayed on. Mahnaz, Alex, Shar, Ali, Sam, thank you for coming. Let us know what other workshops you want to see from us. We're super busy right now with the hackathon, but we'll try to give you the awesome experience as well. You take care and have a good.
Bye. Bye, everyone.